I'd like to acknowledge that Stanley Park is situated on the unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. Tourism plays an important role in Vancouver's local economy, and the growing demands from tourism has an impact on Stanley Park's ecosystem. Stanley Park's ecosystem has been faced with growing pressures from climate change, recreational activities, and growing numbers of tourists. Signage like this is quite important for tourists and also for locals, as it is an educational opportunity, specifically the yellow fish signage, and it provides an opportunity for us to learn more about the park and the effects of on its local biodiversity. Currently, we are now at the seawall, and as you can tell, this area is highly populated with cyclists and people walking with friends, family, or solo. The main concern for the seawall is rising sea levels due to climate change, such as rising temperatures. Currently, there's a big group of tourists observing the seawall. They usually come from tourist buses. Another major site at Stanley Park is the totem pole installations that displays Indigenous artwork. As you can tell, there are many tourists that just got off the tourist bus. For human use of space, the parking lots are relatively quite empty because the area is accessible by transit and by walking. While walking around the seawall, I noticed that there is not a lot of litter or pollution surrounding the area, but there is lots of noise pollution. The seaplanes passing by are quite loud and can be heard in even the quieter areas inside of the park. Another site is the Brockton Oval Trail, which is right near the seawall, but so far I have been walking a kilometer in and I have not seen any passengers, no cyclists, no one like jogging or walking. I could only hear the sound of birds and other wildlife, but I can sometimes hear a bit of the seaplane passing by, but it's definitely a lot more quieter as there are no cyclists or families talking. Another form of noise pollution that we have encountered on the trail, this is the third one that I have passed by. Firstly, are environmental and ecological pressures present? I would say yes, they are present at Stanley Park, and it could be seen through the seawall and through the trails that I walked on, and also other infrastructure like bars and grills and a rose garden. Is tourism well managed at Stanley Park? I would say yes, it is well managed, and I would say it's also well planned. The Prospect Point, for example, is quite far away from the aquarium or from the totem poles, and everything is just spaced out, but in a walkable or cyclable manner. And the area does have a mixed use of both like locals coming in and also tourists. Everyone can do something at the park, and while yes, there were busier areas, I would say generally the park is like busy but not overly so. Overall, I would say that Stanley Park is a successful example of nature-based tourism and not eco-based tourism. Everything is centered to be outdoors. For example, the seawall, there's a cycling lane and then there's a walking lane. And yeah, eco-based tourism, it's just one specific thing that you're going for example, like horses or elephants. Meanwhile here, it's just an array of different sites that you can visit, even the aquarium. In conclusion, I would say that yes, Stanley Park definitely is like more of a sustainable tourist site, but with issues such as sea levels rising and wildlife management and like wildlife impeding and whatnot, it definitely makes me question how sustainable this park can be in the next 100 years, and I'm interested in what measures will be taken to ensure that future generations can also benefit from this park.